This is Persona 4 Dancing All Night for the PlayStation Vita. Now, this isn't your typical retail release of Persona 4 Dancing All Night. No, this mysterious game card popped up on eBay recently, and I thought we need to take a closer look at this. Now, to give you a bit of backstory on this release, there was an eBay seller that had about 10 of these available for sale. Now, according to the auction description, he says this: not much info online about this. This game only lets free dance work. The other options are locked out. The screen to boot the game links to the Japanese website. The game, from what I can tell, didn't have a real demo anywhere, so maybe this was from a trade event or a show, or it could have been used for early reviews. Game and case only. Now, as you can see from the game card here, it just has a generic printed label. On the front, it has that same generic printed label. There is no slipcover. Now, for those of you that maybe don't know too much about the PlayStation Vita, I'll just let you know, right now, there are no publicly available blank cards that you can just write game code to. So this definitely is an official release of some sort. Obviously not an official retail release, but an official release, some internal release of some sort, because this does boot up in an unmodified retail PlayStation Vita. Now, according to the information printed on the game card, we can see it has a PCSE number 00764, which matches the North American release of Persona 4 Dancing All Night. And it also says version 1.00. Now, that version number might suggest that it's a completed release, but it actually isn't. Now, usually an uncompleted release would be like a version 0 point something, but in this case, they have it marked as version 1.0. It's not completed. Well, we've talked about the game enough. Let's go ahead and put it in and see what we can find out. All right, so it is installing, and let's check for updates real quick. Okay, it looks like there is an update available, version 1.01. But first, let's go ahead and boot it up before trying to install the update so we can see what this looks like as is. All right, so the splash screen has Japanese writing underneath the logo, which is interesting because I don't believe the retail North American version has that. And when the logo comes up on the main menu screen, again, we have that Japanese writing appears for just a split second and then it disappears. Welcome to P4D. In P4D, there are two primary modes, story mode and free dance, where you can enjoy dance gameplay. Select your preferred option in the menu. Okay. So as the auction description mentioned, we can't select story mode. It just makes a little noise suggesting that we can't access it. And then obviously we can't get into shopping, collection, config, or DLC. So let's go to free dance mode because that is what the auction description says was functional. And here we are. In free dance mode, you can enjoy the rhythm gameplay with the difficulty and track of your choice. As you play, you will gain new tracks and money for shopping. It is recommended that first-time players play the tutorial in the pause menu. Play tutorial 1. Yes, let's go ahead. Okay, so interestingly, the tutorial is completely in Japanese. That is kind of strange. So let's exit out of that and go into just the regular dance mode. All the menus seem to be in English, but there is a little bit of Japanese sprinkled around here and there. All right, so we have the three difficulty modes, easy, normal, hard, and then we just have these 4 songs to choose from. We can't select any other outfits. And custom, we cannot select custom. That doesn't do anything. I guess we'll just have to go into dance. If you've never played this before, as you can probably tell, it is a music rhythm game. It features music from Persona 4, which is always a good thing in my opinion. As you complete more of the music rhythm game, you'll unlock more content and you'll earn Persona dollars, which you can use to purchase even more content in Tanaka's shop. So it is a pretty fun game, and not unlike a lot of other music rhythm games. And it is PlayStation TV compatible if you would rather play it on the big screen with a regular controller. Okay, so it looks like, yes, we can unlock trophies in here too. That was unexpected. I didn't think this would actually have trophy support because it's not supposed to be like a final retail release, but yes, it has trophy support. So let's exit out of this and let's go ahead and check that out right now. All right, going into the trophies. Okay, this is interesting. This release is using the Japanese trophy set. That's kind of strange, especially considering the application icon for this is the North American release. So it has a North American application install icon. The serial number on the front of the cartridge matches the North American release, but it has the Japanese trophy set. And it's got Japanese sprinkled throughout. Well, let's go ahead and put in, actually first, let's go ahead and install this update and see what happens. Maybe this will enable the full retail release. Let's check it out. All right, downloading. Okay, so this is actually getting an error message trying to install the update. It cannot install the update. So it must be thinking that this is the actual retail North American release and it's trying to install the update over it, but it can't because the code doesn't match the retail version. All right, let's go ahead and put in the North American release and see what happens. Okay, it shares the same application icon. So that's, I guess, expected. And it has that same version 1.01 update available. Okay, so the update's actually installing on the US version just fine. Now, this time it's checking for downloadable content. All right, so let me check that splash screen again now. Okay, they removed the Japanese text. Interesting. Okay, and the logo doesn't have that Japanese text underneath it that like flashed on the screen for just a moment. So it doesn't have that. Obviously, this was the retail version. We know all the menu options work just fine. Let's exit out and go to the trophies. Okay, now as you can see, it is the North American trophy set. So yes, it shares that same application icon with the North American version, suggesting that the game code has that same model number as the North American release. Even the PSN store thinks it's a North American release. It's trying to install that 1.01 update for the retail version. But the trophy set is different. This demo is using the Japanese trophy set. Very strange, very strange. Let's go ahead and put the Japanese version in and see how that compares. All right, putting the Japanese version in, and it is installing a new application icon for the Japanese release. Okay, and this one also has an update available. This is for version 1.04. Now, version 1.04 doesn't necessarily mean it's going to have more features than the North American version 1.01. It could just mean that, you know, there might be some disparity where like the version 1.03 in Japan is the same as version 1.0 in North America. and version 1.04 might be the same as version 1.01. All right, so starting this one up, yes, we do have the Japanese text in the splash screen, as expected. And yes, the menu screen also has the Japanese text, but it stays on the screen, doesn't just flash on the screen for a second there. Interesting. Now, obviously, this is the Japanese retail release, so it should have the Japanese trophy information. We'll just confirm that really quick. And yes, the Japanese trophy information is now at the top of the list, which suggests that's the last game I played. So yeah, Japanese version has the Japanese trophies. So that's really interesting. Let's try one more thing here. Now that the update is applied, let's see what happens if we put the demo back in. Okay, so it won't actually boot the game now anymore. I guess probably the data is corrupt because we installed an update for the North American retail release and it thinks the demo is the North American retail release, but the code isn't compatible. So it is now getting an error message trying to boot up the demo. So if we want to boot that demo back up again, we would have to erase the application data to wipe out that update and then start over again. So that is very interesting. So now we've learned some things about this demo release. To me, it seems like this version is partially translated from Japanese, but they didn't finish the translation. So maybe they didn't translate the story mode yet, so they locked that out. The game code could probably still be there for story mode, but they locked it out because they didn't do any of the translation for it and didn't want anyone accessing it, like maybe for like a review copy or something like that. Let's see what kind of information we can find out online.
We're dancing all night.
Do a little bit of dancing?
Doing a lot of dancing, so we're gonna
Tons of dancing.
boogie in our seats.
All right, so after doing a bit of research online, I did find an IGN video, an E3 IGN video where they were talking about this game. Now, they mentioned that the game has a story mode, but they never go into it. They never go in and show it.
We're playing in free dance mode, but there is a story mode as well.
Sure.
So, the story mode obviously is the full English voice.
Then later on in the video, after they've cleared one of the stages, they earn some Persona money. The guy says that here we've earned some Persona money, and if this were the full retail version and not the E3 demo, we would be able to go into the shop and buy customization items.
If this were the full version of the game and not just the E3 demo, we could use that Persona money to go and buy costumes and different items from Terebi no Tanaka,
Nice.
the Gcanet.
Of course, you gotta order more stuff.
So that suggests to me that they were playing this demo version of the game for this E3 presentation. So this version was probably also playable out on the E3 floor and for like companies like IGN to demo for people before the North American release, somewhere in between the Japanese release and the North American release. And they probably just intentionally locked out those other features, those other areas of the game because they haven't been translated yet. And that's why we see like a little bit of Japanese pop up in the menu just for a split second before it disappears. They didn't get a chance to wipe that out of the animation sequence yet. But they did wipe it out of the final resting logo. We didn't have the tutorial translated yet, but the actual gameplay and the menus are translated to English. So this was enough to show people how the game plays and to show them what features are available, but not necessarily go in depth into each of those features. So that's pretty cool. Now we know what this release is, and it's probably not something most people would need or want to have in their collection, but if you're like me and enjoy holding on to a little piece of gaming history, especially, it's PlayStation Vita related and I love the PlayStation Vita, there you go. Now, I have no idea how many copies are available of this. There could be a lot more for all I know. I just know that the seller had approximately 10, I didn't count, but it seemed like approximately 10 of them for sale. And I can't imagine that he held on to all of the available copies. I'm sure there are others floating out there, maybe Even someone at IGN has one or two, or other video game companies. But yeah, cool piece of history, and now we know. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for today. Thanks for watching. Until next time, I will see you later.